Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. A lot going on in Minneapolis. You know, it's amazing the entire city didn't burn to the ground as we see these agitators now rush to the streets to cause all kinds of problems there. I want to focus today on two things, though. I want to focus on demystifying or debunking the lies that are being told about this ICE agent and the shooting that he was involved in. This is a 100% justified shooting, and I'm going to prove that to you today. But the other thing that I want to focus on, which a lot of people aren't talking about, and that is the police chief in Minneapolis. The police chief is a danger to his own officers. The police chief is a pandering political hack. His name is Brian O'Hara, and he ought to resign. He has turned his back on the badge. He has turned his back on the flag. He has turned his back on the oath that he took to protect the Constitution as he pushes these left-wing talking points, making officers' jobs so difficult. I'm going to prove to you over the course of this podcast of just how awful Brian O'Hara really is and why this guy has no business calling himself a cop, and he ought to take the uniform off right away. He ought to hang it up and go to work for some left-wing Democrat coming up with left-wing talking points, because you're not speaking the truth. You have now become a professional liar, Chief, and we're going to expose you for that. So we got a big show as we'll break all of this down for you, and then, of course, the radicals coming out, and we'll play you some of those, this talk about an unarmed woman. How about a vehicle is a weapon? We know that. All you have to look are at terrorists that use vehicles to mow down people. It doesn't matter whether you're mowing down 100 or mowing down one. A vehicle is a deadly weapon. And any left-wing lunatic that says it isn't is lying to you because they know it is. So with that, folks, we're going to get this show started. Before we do, let me tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant is where I want you to go. I'm going to be involved in a very big event with Steve Bannon tomorrow night at the Gaylord Texan. This is the kind of stuff that Patriot Mobile puts on. We're pushing back against the Muslim invasion in America and here in Texas, of course. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. You want to be on board with a company that believes in the things that we believe in. That you know a portion of the money you pay for your cell phone service will go towards fighting for America. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service, which is a great deal. 100% U.S.-based customer service. You choose what network you want to be on, so there's no giving up service there, and a performance guarantee like none other. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Switching so easy. Make the switch today. With that, folks, and I apologize about the cough. Let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right. You know, it was hard for me to figure out where I wanted to start today because I'm so upset with the lies being told about the ICE agent that somehow he killed an unarmed woman who was just trying to drive away. What an absolute fallacy that is. And real quick, when you look at the video of what went down there, and let's just play it, you can see one ICE agent telling her to stop the vehicle. The other agent, there comes into your screen, is directly in front of the vehicle as she hits the gas, trying to run over him. He's injured. She actually makes contact with him as he's firing, ultimately killing her, shooting her in the head. What do you want him to do? It is a 100% justified shoot, which this leads me now to the police chief, who early on had information about this shoot. And instead of just saying we don't want to jump to conclusions, that officers, when they feel in danger, often have to act in certain ways that the public may not like, but it's to ensure that they go home, instead of coming up with just literally talking around the edges comments, if that's what you want to do. Clearly he didn't back up his officers. Clearly he didn't back up his fellow law enforcement officers when I talk about them as ICE agents. I want to play for you what the chief said. And this gets us into why Brian O'Hara is such an awful human being. that has literally turned his backs and will sell out fellow law enforcement officers just to appease his almighty boss, the mayor, Jacob Fry. This is where he first makes a mistake, the chief.
Preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off.
First off, it's two officers that are screaming at her to stop. The moment she obeys commands, stops her vehicle, puts her hands outside, turns off the car, whatever, puts it in park, she's alive today. She then drives off. That's not driving off when you have one officer literally, let me pull up the video. When you have literally one officer at your window telling you to stop, commanding you, and another officer in front of the car, it is not driving off. As you can see on this video, it's using your vehicle as a weapon. So this chief, totally out of line with his comments because they're lies. It doesn't match up to what was happening on the ground.
At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there.
Yeah, it's a crime scene, folks, because someone tried to kill a police officer. This woman, as sad as it is that she lost her life, she's apparently a trained agitator, was there blocking the roadway. So if that doesn't get bad enough from the chief, he ends up going on TV that night on one of the cable networks and continues to spew nonsense. Now, after you've watched the video, any reasonable person will tell you, yes, there's a reasonable expectation to believe that the officer feared for his life as they hear the car rev its engines. The tires are now spinning on the snow, and you're standing in front of the car. That's a reasonable expectation to believe your life is in danger. But the chief doesn't even say anything like that. The chief doesn't try to tamper emotions. The chief doesn't try to say, hey, we want you to be able to go out and protest. But if officers give you commands, you've got to obey them. If you obey commands, you will live every time. Please obey officers when you're out there protesting. He doesn't say any of that stuff.
That's what we have. It did play out on video. The angle that President Trump is sharing appears to show the agent bumped by the vehicle. And he, of course, is characterizing it, as he wrote, that the woman driving the car was disorderly, obstructing, and resisting.
Let me just explain this. The officer bumped by the vehicle. He's only bumped because he jumped out of the way. He would have been run over if he wasn't. But that's the kind of mainstream media talk that outrages me, because if you aren't around law enforcement, if you don't understand what it's like to be in these situations the moment they unfold, and you say, oh, she was bumped, and the police says she tried to drive off, this is what warps the mind of dopey Americans. And we've got a lot of dopey Americans. I would offer up, if you're watching CNN, you're a dopey American. This continues.
And then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Is that what happened here? Is that the version you see, or is it different?
I would tell you this much. We owe it to this woman, to her family, and to the American public to ensure that an investigation does occur. And that investigation occurs, and it follows all of the available evidence to its logical conclusion.
He's stumbling over his words because he's nervous. He's nervous because he knows right now he's throwing his officers under the bus. He's throwing fellow law enforcement under the bus. His answer should have been, of course, we're going to investigate. But as I look at this, I understand why the officer did what he did. You cannot try to run over police officers. You cannot try to run over ICE agents. Why isn't this cop saying that? because he's not a real cop. He's a political hack. He's a mouthpiece for the left. And the left has infiltrated the Minneapolis Police Department to the point where they have this guy running the show. Can you imagine if you're an officer working inside the Minneapolis Police Department and this is your boss? He will hang you out to dry. Forget about MS-13 gang members, gangbangers, drug dealers. They're not the threat right now. The threat is a guy like this and a radical district attorney and the mayor of Minneapolis who will throw you under the bus quicker than you could say Timbuktu.
That being said, I can also tell you law enforcement in the United States has been training for many years to try and avoid incidents like this whenever possible.
What did the officer do different, could have done differently? They approach the vehicle. They tell them to stop. Now, I would offer standing in front of a vehicle may not be the best move on the officer's behalf. It's why he almost got run over. You don't want to put yourself in the line of a vehicle. You're not going to win, and they're not going to stop if they want to run you over. But that doesn't mean that the person has a right to run you over. I'm only saying tactically, I'm not sure that's the best spot to put yourself in. You don't have tactical advantage if you have a car bearing down on you. Now, the other officer did it just as he's told. He puts his arm on the windshield. He's demanding that she stop. She's not stopping. What do you want the officer to do? This idiot police chief is going to now say that somehow tactically they did the wrong thing. They should have just let her go, get her license plate. He's about to run the cop over.
Try and avoid having law enforcement officers placed into a situation with an unarmed motorist where they may have to use force.
Unarmed motorist? You lousy, lying cockroach. The vehicle is the weapon. She is not unarmed. Stop with that nonsense. Do you want to get hit by a car going, I don't know, 10 miles an hour, 30, 40, 50 miles? Do you want to get hit by a car? No. Chief, you know that. You know the vehicle's a weapon. We've seen them been used over and over and over again.
That's why there is an emphasis on proportionality, an emphasis on if you are able to identify a license plate, identify who the person is, follow up afterwards if there is some independent crime that did occur.
Follow up afterwards? This mope of a cop is making me so angry. How do you want the officer to follow up when he's in a pine box? How do you want him to follow up when he's got crying family members in the front row of a church and he's in a coffin draped in a flag? How does he follow that up, Chief? He can't, which is why that ICE agent has a right to go home to his family. If you're going to try to run over a cop, you better expect to get shot. This is a split decision that is made. Watch it in real time here. This is real time. You want him to take the license plate as he's getting run over? You ding dong. This guy is such an asshole, man. I'll tell you what, I really am. I want him fired. The mayor won't fire him, though, because the mayor, he knows he's got a lapdog inside the Minneapolis Police Department. But he ought to resign just out of sheer self-respect. But I don't believe this cop has any self-respect. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go through some of the other clips that I uncovered from this chief in his short time as the chief of the Minneapolis Police Department to prove to you that he's a radical leftist and has no care in the world for the Constitution, no care in the world for the rule of law. Do you want a police chief who doesn't care about the rule of law at the helm of one of the largest police departments in the country? I say no. Before we do that, I want to tell you about one of our new sponsors, VRAletter.com. This is an amazing daily newsletter that's going to set you and your portfolio up for success. They limit it to 10 picks, and this is fabulous. 2025, 35% returns, crushing the market. They have almost every year except for 2 over the last 20-something years beat the market. Every year. And not just by a little, by a lot. And so what I love about this is it's easy to follow. It's not a daily trade this, trade that, trade this. It's literally easy to follow. You set your portfolio up. You follow the direction. They tell you when to buy. They tell you when to sell. They tell you if you're going to move things around. And this has beat the market in 2025 by 35%, historically returning an average over 30% returns every year. Now, for me as a guy in their 50s, they are setting me up for retirement. And so I have now switched my portfolio over to Vertical Research Advisors. I'm running it. They send me the newsletter, and it's super easy. VRAletter.com. Go there, sign up. You're going to change the way you make money around so quickly. VRAletter.com. VRAletter.com. Crush the market by guys who've been crushing the market for a long time, and they are bullish on 2026 and have some unbelievable picks. The leader, Kip Harridge, was just on Fox Business talking about his big picks that were up like 200% last year. So, again, VRAletter.com. That's VRAletter.com. Check them out. All right. Back to Brian O'Hara, the Keystone Cop. The problem is the Keystone Cops, they meant well. They just were awful. This guy is horrible. He doesn't mean well. He actually is out to destroy policing. I do believe that is what he is up to. Listen to him as we go back down memory lane.
The Minneapolis Police Department is committed to honoring the human dignity of every person in our community. The Minneapolis Police Department does not participate in immigration enforcement. We do not care and do not ask people about immigration status.
That right there tells you all you need to know. The Minneapolis Police Department does not care about immigration status. Now, if you're here illegally in America, you have broken the law. So think about this. Your first act stepping foot into America has been to break the law. If you're a police officer, you better think about that. You're a police chief, you better think about that. Now, here's what's amazing. Immigrants that come here legally commit crimes at a rate lower than American citizens. Immigrants that come here legally, immigrants that come here illegally, commit crimes at a rate much higher than American citizens. So wouldn't you want to know, just based off of statistics alone of who's here illegally and who's here legally? And the fact is, wouldn't you want to know if someone is a wanted fugitive, which now under the Trump administration, illegal aliens are different from the Biden administration, but they are wanted. And he doesn't care about that.
People in our community need to know that they can feel confident that when they need help, they can call 911 and we will show up for everyone, and not be afraid to call because they think we might turn them over.
Well, guess what? I hate to break the news to you, but if you're a criminal, calling 911 does pose some risks to you. Does this mean if you're a bank robber that you should feel free to call 911 and if you need help, if you're being mugged, if you're wanted? If you're a child molester and you're wanted, should you still be free to call 911 and they'll just ignore the charges against you? It's not how it works in this country. If you're law-abiding, you call 911. You don't have to worry about anything. If you're not law-abiding, well, then guess what? You do. And that's just the reality of the situation. But this guy panders like you wouldn't believe. And now we have all these allegations about the Somali community, right? They're engaged in so much fraud. You would think the police chief would want to get to the bottom of the fraud. Listen to him at a Somali event.
That we just announced just a week or two ago is we changed the uniform policy for Minneapolis police now. So now the hijab is a part of the uniform for the Minneapolis police.
The hijab is a part of the uniform for the Minneapolis police? What are you talking about? First off, you don't need to make that a policy. I don't know how many cops out there are wearing hijabs. I can't imagine it would be very good for peripheral vision, suspect coming at you from the left or right. But the idea that he comes in here and they make this official big deal about now we're going to make this an official part of the Minneapolis Police Department, that's not what policing is about. This is the equivalent of putting rainbow flags on your police cars or, God forbid, on your shoulder where the American flag should be. This is the kind of pandering from a police chief that literally no police department needs, no community needs. It gets worse.
Somali community here in Minneapolis has been welcoming and has shown love towards me, and I appreciate it. Over the last 3 years, we have been working together to try and address some of the real serious problems that we have in our community. We have to be honest at times with the problems that we're having in our community, and we need our community to help us fix those problems together because it's real and it's serious. At the same time, if people have taken anything...
You ready for this? This is the part that I really wanted you to hear. Because he's saying we have a problem with crime in the community. He admits it. Okay, he admits it. But wait until you hear this.
At the same time, if people have taken anything that I have said out of context in a way that's caused harm, I apologize and I'm sorry for that because that's not my intention at all.
What are you apologizing for? You apologizing for calling out criminals? And what is it? Is it just because they're black? What? Why? I mean, would you apologize to a group of white supremacists? I hope not. If you're calling out bank robbers who happen to be white as the driven snow, would you apologize to them? I hope not. I don't care what color anybody is. I don't care where they're from. If they're a criminal, you call them out and you don't apologize for it. You put handcuffs on them. How does this guy call himself a cop? There are so many cities that would love to have this guy as their police chief, too, by the way. And here's the sad reality. He's from Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is one of the roughest towns. It's run by Democrats. The reason crime is out of control is because it's run by Democrats. But you would think this guy knows what real crime is. And not to mention, Minneapolis has their own share of gang problems. That's for sure. You want more from this guy? Let's go more from this guy.
Folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear.
Wait a second. What? Folks that are masked may be kidnapping people. You may have had those reports. They all turned out to be false and fraudulent reports. We know that ICE isn't kidnapping anybody. There's not removing American citizens. They're not scooping up American citizens. Now, if you're with a group of illegal aliens, you may have to be detained as they can identify you. But as my liberal mother told me, you're only as good as the group you're hanging out with. You hang out with bad people, those bad people are going to bring you down. So if you're an American citizen and you're hanging out with illegal alien criminals, that group of illegal alien criminals is only going to bring you down. As Jim Valvano always said, drive the bus and make sure you put good people on the bus, the great coach of NC State. It's great advice. I tell my son that all the time. You want to be the bus driver. You decide who gets on the bus, and you don't let bad people on the bus. And that's the bus you drive through your life. You surround yourself with good people, good things will happen. But they want to scream and yell about people who surround themselves with bad people. Now, I'm not telling you that all illegal aliens are intrinsically bad, but I will tell you they are intrinsically a criminal because they broke the law the moment they stepped in America illegally. It can't be argued. Just as it can't be argued that this ICE shooting was 100% justified. But that's what the left wants to do, bring all kinds of wacky arguments about how somehow it was an unarmed person. Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, hold on. This audio is really low. Let me get it up and play it for you.
The so-called Secretary of Homeland Security.
So you can hear it. Hold on. Here we
go.
Shooting in Minnesota.
There's no evidence that has been presented to justify the shooting of an unarmed woman in Minneapolis.
No evidence been presented? I just showed you video of him nearly getting run over. I just showed you video of her disobeying commands, hitting the gas and trying to run over an ICE agent. What more do you need? I mean, seriously, you're just supposed to let the person go? She was instrumental in blocking ICE agents before, so she's already committed a crime. Police officers aren't tasked with just letting criminals go, getting their license plate, and then taking cops off the streets to go try to find them later. It's much more efficient to arrest them the moment they commit the crime.
The so-called Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, has zero credibility. She's a stone-cold liar. We've got to make sure that the rogue ICE agent who pulled the trigger, resulting in the death of an American citizen, is criminally investigated to the full extent of the law.
You know, it's so reckless, the behavior of these Democrats, because they spew this out because they want to take the opposite side of whatever President Trump takes. Truthfully, the Democrats take the opposite side of right. They take the opposite side of truth every time because they think somehow it'll embolden their followers. It'll engage their followers. They want a George Floyd like nothing else. They realize their party's failing. They realize, since they've turned their back on common sense, and America has realized that, they need a George Floyd. And so they rile up their bees. Now, what do you mean when you tell me that Kristi Noem is awful? This is what he said, that she's a liar.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. We're continuing to gather more information, but this goes to show the assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day.
That's what law enforcement officers, federal agents want and need, not just from our leaders of our nation, but from all of us as well. They need someone out there supporting them. Now, if an officer's wrong, let me be very, very clear. I'll be the first to call them out. Maybe they're wrong because they made a mistake. Maybe they made a wrong judgment call. I'll call them out. I'll be kind about it, but I'll call them out. Maybe they go rogue, and I'll call them out. Bad cops are despised by good cops maybe more than they despise criminals. Nobody likes a bad cop. But the reality is 99.9% of cops are good, decent people. Probably even higher than that. And they need our support. They don't need Hakeem Jeffries coming out and saying he needs to be criminally investigated for literally trying to ensure that he goes home to his family. And that's exactly what he was trying to do. Folks, let me tell you about my friends over at the Wellness Company and this new product, Drop, that they have. I don't know if you've heard about Drop, but this is absolutely a fabulous weight loss product that I believe people need right now. If you're looking to lose weight, this peptide-based supplement will speed up your metabolism. It will suppress your appetite. You will lose weight on it. Peptides are like the new amazing science here through all of this, and I want you to have some access to it. twc.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT100 for $100 off your first order of Drop. You'll reduce cravings. You'll suppress your appetite. You'll maintain a well-rounded supplementation. And this AQA technology is really pretty phenomenal. So Go to the wellness company, twc.health/Grant. Use that promo code Grant. Grant for 10% off of all their products. Grant 100 for $100 off of drop. And then don't forget the testosterone builder Mars. This has been fabulous for me as well. And the ultimate spike detox to get the spike protein out of your system, whether you had COVID or you took the shot. This is a must. That spike protein's bad news. This will help rid your body of it. All right. Turning now to the shooting itself, I wanted to go through it because when you look at it real time and break it down, I want to explain what actually was going on from a self-defense standpoint. Now, mind you, I'm not a police officer, but I'm certified in Texas in advanced patrol tactics. I've trained on multiple occasions with police officers. I've had the blessings to be trained by Navy SEALs. I've gone through basic SWAT class. So I have a broad knowledge of what officers go through. I've gone through too many simulations to count where they put heart monitors on you. And you can see even in a simulation that under threat, my heart rate would go from 68 beats a minute to 120, even when I know it's a simulation. Imagine what these officers feel when they're going through the situation themselves. So let's first start off by watching the full video from this angle. Let me get the wellness company, though I love my wellness company, folks. Let me get it off the screen for us so we can see the whole video. All right, watch this.
No!
All right, one thing I want to say is get out of the effing car. That's what he says here, okay? Get out of the effing car.
No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God! What the fuck? What the fuck?
All right.
You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
Now, the first command was get out of the effing car. That's a pretty clear command. She did not obey it. The moment she obeys that one command, she is alive today, in handcuffs and arrested, but alive today. Now, if you go back and look at this, I want to show you the officer comes in front of the vehicle from the other side. Now you see him in front of the vehicle. He wasn't in the frame before. Now he is just over the shoulder of the ICE agent who is at the window telling her to stop. You've got an ICE agent in front of the vehicle telling her to stop. There is no doubt he is in front of that vehicle. Now let's play it again.
No!
Again, he pulls his firearm. She continues to move forward.
Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God! What the fuck?
And then she crashes down the street with the person screaming. Well, I do believe President Trump is right that person was a bad actor through all of this. Now let's look at it in slow motion, okay? This is the video close up, and I want to show you in slow motion how it all goes down. You can hear them telling her to stop. You see the officer in front of the vehicle, clearly in front of the vehicle. Now watch. You see where the gun is? Where is he? Directly in front of the car. The wheels are directly pointed at him. And now he gets out of the way, gets hit by the car. He's in the hospital. I believe his foot was run over after all of this. And now if you put it into real time, you'll see how fast this all unfolds. Watch here. And that's her foot on the gas that you hear the car still revving. She's dead. And her foot is on the car, and the car can't go anywhere because it's crashed into those vehicles. Now, you tell me where the officer erred. The only thing I would say is it's not a good idea to get directly in front of the vehicle. You're putting yourself at great risk because the vehicle can be used as a weapon. That is what agents are trained. It doesn't mean the suspect has a right to run over that officer. It only means that the officer has now placed himself in great danger. When she accelerates the vehicle toward him, he has no other option but to shoot. In my opinion, this idea that you can shoot the tires out, you tell me at real speed, how in the world are you going to do that? You can't. Now, this was broken down by another podcaster, and I want to play it for you because they do a good job of breaking it down as well. So now you'll have my breakdown of it, and then we'll give you their breakdown of it.
Right there, she's moving forward, and he had to just barely get out of the way. He barely got. If he hadn't moved, she would have run him over. Watch the tire. See, now the tire is moving forward. You see the tire is moving forward with the officer directly in front of the car. You can see the spinning. This would have never happened if she had just gotten out of the car, and it would have never happened if she hadn't just tried to block the police in the first place.
Well, and that's maybe one of the most important parts of all this. Obey commands and show your hands. You do that, you will live through a police encounter 100% of the time. It is that simple. I have not seen a police encounter with someone who has obeyed the commands of police, have shown their hands, or something bad has happened to them. Now, in their opinion, getting arrested may be bad, but you're not going to get injured if you do those things. It's like so simple. But again, you go back to every encounter. Eric Garner, George Floyd, fail to obey. And they get put in very bad situations. Even George Floyd, if he obeys the commands early on, he's not flat on his stomach, high on drugs, in a situation where he's going to gargle himself to death. So obey commands, show your hands, you live every single time. She didn't do that. These guys continued.
I see her spinning her wheels forward right there. You're trying to run over that officer. You are. She doesn't give a fuck. Plus, if you're next to a car like that, you can hear it when it starts accelerating. You know what? You actually bring up a great point. I hadn't even thought about this. But the police officer who was in front of the car heard the wheels accelerating. And yeah, absolutely, he's going to pull out his fucking gun. That's a great point. New pictures show the bullet hole in the windshield, so clearly shot from in front of the car. Here we go. And you can see right here, if the cop wasn't in front of the vehicle, then he wouldn't have been able to make this shot. I've seen the video. Don't breathe the propaganda machine. The state will ensure there's a full, fair, and expeditious investigation.
All right. So good job of unfolding that. And very, very interesting. So now you have this situation where you got people like Jeffrey saying unarmed. You got people like the mayor, Fry.
And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
ICE did not create the danger there. The woman blocking the way created the danger. How do they not see it? I think they do. I think they just want to lie to the people because they just hate the idea of enforcing the law. This woman was a witness. I don't know if she's one of the agitators or not. It's hard to say. I'm not going to say she is, but she was a witness, and she saw how it all went down, and listen to her very carefully.
They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah.
So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
That was her goal.
All right, so I think that's just a witness. I don't think by any means she was involved in the wrongdoing at all, but she's saying that she was involved in impeding the ICE officers. She was blocking traffic. She's doing everything she can do to stop a federal law enforcement officer from doing his or her job. That's a crime, okay? Officers have a right to arrest you now that you've done that. They have a right, certainly, to get you out of the road that you're blocking. And she does not have a right to try to speed over top of them. That, folks, is about as bad as it gets. And so what happens when you get Mayor Fry screaming, "Get the F out of our city"? This is what happens. You get this last night. Now, who are these people, do you think? I believe they're the same people that are involved in the Antifa rioting, the Black Lives Matter rioting. Is that a Mexican flag they're waving? I would imagine most of them are white with pink hair, is my guess. But it was happening all over the place. Rise up, take a stand. What are they doing? They're literally egging people on to go out and engage in violence. Shelly Rose 777, our moderator, says it's sickening. It absolutely is. So Kay Graves writes in the Rumble chat I'm looking, how do we know the shooter's an American law enforcement officer and not an IDF soldier hired by ICE? Really? I mean, come on. For real? That's your takeaway? Is that it's an Israeli soldier? We live in a world, man, where people are we got to really start using our minds here. It's in Minneapolis. The guy's in front of a car that's driving at him. You can't set that up if what you're implying is that Israeli IDF soldiers are here to kill Americans. You don't set that up. But whatever. All right, folks. Listen up. If you want to get in shape, my folks over at Energized Health can help you. They helped me lose 15 pounds in 2 weeks. 88-day protocol. But right now they're running a 5-5-5 challenge. And here's what you do. You sign up, pay $5. You're guaranteed to lose 5 pounds in 5 days. They will show you exactly how to do it. And if that doesn't tell you that it works, I don't know what will. EnergizedHealth.com. That's EnergizedHealth.com. It's about getting hydrated at a cellular level. It will transform how your joints feel. It will transform how your mind works. I got sharper, if you can believe it. How do you get any sharper than me? I got sharper. My joint pain, muscle pain starts to go away. This intercellular hydration is like the holy grail of turning your life around and feeling better. Not to mention, it helps you burn fat and build muscle mass. So get off those Ozempics of the world and start burning fat, visceral fat too, those ones around your organs that's so dangerous. EnergizedHealth.com, and they're running this My 5-5-5 challenge. I urge you to go watch the masterclass at EnergizedHealth.com. Think about taking part in the My 5-5 challenge. Book a call with them. That's the most important thing you can do is book a call and see what they can do for you. Just talk to them. And I'll tell you, they changed my life like they changed mine as well. All right, I love the folks at Energized Health. Now we can turn briefly to Somali fraud because it's all, in many respects, connected. So there was a hearing yesterday on Capitol Hill. James Comer of Oversight interviewed, had the congressional hearing, had Minnesota state representatives come in to hear about the fraud going on inside of Minneapolis and Minnesota in general. This was his opening statement, James Comer's.
Oversight Committee is holding its first hearing on the massive fraud in Minnesota's social services program. Minnesota social services, which are funded by you, the American taxpayer, are being ripped off. The most vulnerable are suffering as a result. Federal prosecutors estimate that these criminals have stolen at least $9 billion. The The fraudsters, many of whom are from Minnesota's Somali community, have stolen from programs meant to feed needy kids, provide services to autistic children, house low-income and disabled Americans, and provide health care to vulnerable Medicaid recipients. Fraudsters like these take millions to enrich themselves while providing nothing, overstating or outright faking the services. How many children have gone hungry because fraudsters stole money that was intended to provide them with food? How many autistic children were denied services because fraudsters instead sent this money overseas? How many low-income seniors, people with disabilities, or those with mental illnesses were denied access to housing because fraudsters drained resources and pocketed the money for themselves? The breadth and depth of this fraud is breathtaking.
And yet, Democrats in Minnesota want to ignore it all. The problem is it wasn't just Minnesota state money, it was federal taxpayer money. So here I am in Texas paying for this craziness. Daycares with no kids, health care with no patients. What in the world? SNAP food stores with nobody buying food. But the money's flowing. I just saw a report in Tucson. I believe it was either Tucson or Phoenix, the airport. There was a Somali man that TSA reported was coming through once a week with $1 million in cash. Once a week, moving money. $1 million in cash. Where's the money going? It's going overseas. So that means not only do they take taxpayer money, but the money doesn't stay here in America. It goes over to Somalia and Sudan, I'm told, and gets infused into their shitty economy. Instead of staying here, you take millions out of the American economy. That hurts us on many, many fronts. So this hearing, to me, wasn't great because I think in the end it was a bunch of Republican lawmakers talking about the fraud, which is great, and I believe them and I know it's there. But what we really need are nonpartisan observers that can prove the fraud or people engaged in the fraud that are put under oath to explain themselves.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, for holding this important hearing. As I said on Monday, good riddance to Governor Walz, but he cannot escape accountability for the estimated $9 billion in fraud. How did this happen? And where the hell has the Twin Cities media been? The Star Tribune is complicit. They have had this story for years, if you just heard, and they've refused to report anything on it. In fact, they continue to try and cover up.
So go figure, the mainstream media, complicit in the cover-up as well. They did it for Hunter Biden's laptop. They did it for inflation under Joe Biden, telling us everything was okay. This is what they do. Oh, there's nothing to see here. No election integrity, fraud. You name it. It's a media cover-up.
Our Minnesota Republican colleagues have demanded answers and accountability for years, but have seen nothing from Walz, his administration, our Democrat colleagues like Tina Smith, Amy Klobuchar, Ilhan Omar, and Angie Craig, or the worthless Star Tribune. Thank God for President Donald J. Trump for finally bringing attention to this issue. Representative Rarick, I'm going to begin with you. You've been working on this issue for years. You've spoken to the whistleblowers personally. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You have an understanding that 1,000 whistleblowers running an account on X have come forward to expose fraud in Minnesota state agencies, and they have been entirely ignored by Tim Walz and have even been retaliated against. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Even this morning, I got another message.
Well, in your experience, are their claims credible or are they politically motivated against Walz?
They're completely credible, not politically motivated.
In fact, many of these are Walz administration employees, correct?
They are actually Democrats as well.
Can you quickly give us one example of the retaliation these folks...
First off, you hear what she just said? You have Democrat whistleblowers. The mainstream media is not covering that. Whistleblowers inside the Walz administration that sees the outflow of money, millions, billions, as we're learning, of dollars flowing out. And again, folks, I don't want to just focus on Minnesota. That's what this hearing's about. But California, New York, Massachusetts, you're going to look at every blue state. It's going to be out of control. And I believe you're probably going to see it in red states, too.
Been facing.
Yes, I can. In my opening statement, I mentioned that the most severe ones was that they would be fired with cause, so they couldn't have unemployment insurance. that they would be blacklisted from all state agencies, and I bet that it's also Hennepin County and Ramsey County, as you know, those are Democrat-run, and much more.
Based on what you've learned, Representative, over the last several years, do you have any doubt that Governor Tim Walz knew about this fraud as it was occurring?
He absolutely knew that it was occurring.
Thank you. The Housing Stability Services Program.
So there you go. He absolutely knew. Now that's coming from a Republican lawmaker, which, you know, is par for the course. We all believe that. We all know that. It would be more powerful to get some of those whistleblowers into the hearing. Get the Democrat state administrators that are blowing the whistle on Walz and Ellison and Ilhan Omar and those people involved in pushing that money out of state coffers into the hands of Somalis. Let's get those people in. That would be a powerful hearing. More than just hearing from lawmakers. This is a start, but in many respects, it goes back to what I always think about Congress. They love to grandstand instead of getting down to the business of really getting the real folks in that's going to make a difference in exposing all of this. We're going to be talking about a lot of this on the program tonight on Real America's Voice. President Trump pulling us out of 66 radical leftist agencies, all UN related. President Trump pulling us out of that. That's great news. And then I've got some information on the CIA was involved in cocaine trafficking out of Venezuela. Looks like a lot of evidence of this. This could actually impact Maduro's trial because the CIA had basically set up the Venezuelan regime to push this cocaine on American citizens. It sounds too wild to be true. The problem is where I'm hearing it from are all very, very credible sources. And in fact, 60 Minutes back in the day when 60 Minutes was 60 Minutes with a guy like Mike Wallace, 1993 was reporting on this. We'll talk about that on the Real America's Voice show tonight as well. Don't forget, folks, please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you are watching. It would be great. And then if you want to change your mindset around, if you're feeling like a new year and you just need a little shift in things to get what you want, to reach your goals, to figure out ways to make those goals and make them achievable and take this step by step without giving a rat's ass what other people think about you. And if this is a problem, you're concerned about what other people think about you, the Maverick System is for you. It's a short course that I created to basically make stronger individuals in America, because I thought if we could make stronger individuals on an individual level, that's how we save America in the long run. So this is about going on offense. It's about winning again, and it's a blueprint on exactly how to do that. All right? TheMaverickSystem.com, TheMaverickSystem.com. Go check it out. I've got it priced very, very low. And then reach out to me if you'd like to give me a testimonial. This is why I have it so low before I do an official launch of the Maverick System. TheMaverickSystem.com. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us today. It's so great to have you along with me. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you tomorrow here. I'm going to do, on Fridays, we're going to do a financial stock market podcast. I'm always interested in how we can be making more money, what we should be investing in, what the future looks like. I haven't done this before, but I'm big on the stock market. I'm hugely bullish for 2026, and we're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to take a little different turn. It'll get me out of this mindset and give me a little bit of a break to talk about something else that I really love, which is investing and making people wealthy. So that tomorrow at 11 o'clock, give you a nice little blueprint of where to take your portfolio. All right, so that at 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 Eastern, right here on this same podcast. All right, folks, thanks for watching, everybody. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you tomorrow.